who needs no introduction, is going to be guiding today. And the title is Enough is Enough, Cleaning Up Compton's Water. Welcome, Chip and his panelists. And I refer you to the program for their bios.
All right. Good morning. Well, we're on a flow here, so to speak. Given that we're on the water planet, and as John F. Kennedy said, the composition of our blood and the composition of our ocean are basically the same in terms of various ingredients and elements. And as Peter and Rave just pointed out, that the world's running out of water. I tried to get our dear friend and AREDAY alumni Lester Brown to come. He's getting up there a little bit, and he didn't want to travel because he'd already been out one time to Ted Turner's ranch, so that's probably enough for him to come out west. But he wrote a new book that's out there, and everybody should keep it up. It's just going to publish now, and it's called The World is Running Out of Water, and this is one of the most published men in the world. He's had over 55 books written and published in, I think it's over 650 languages. Now, if you really think about that, that's getting up to where the Bible is at in terms of, so water is the defining issue of our time and perhaps all time. And so my dear friend Riggs Eckelberry here, Origin Clear. I just met Cedric, former LA Laker and I believe Phoenix Sun, professional basketball player, and Fred, who introduced me to the wonderful Compton girls at Spike Buckley's Earth's Call, and that's when I first became acquainted with this amazing group of people, young women led by Fred, who are just igniting the world with their voice. And so we're here to talk about water. We're here to talk about water in a place where it's pretty tough. It's called Compton, and maybe Fred, you might just give us a frame of what the situation is there with the water.
Well, basically, there's a situation where 3,000 residents in Compton are suffering from the same thing that's happening in Flint, where they're getting brown water coming out of their faucets. And we have families that are like washing their face but have to grit their teeth so the water don't get in their mouth, or they can't wash their clothes or can't bathe because of the water. And now the situation is where the water is starting to smell as well. So there's a pocket of Compton where that is. Now, this is a problem that existed before some of the politicians were in place. So we're working with them to come up with solutions, and working with the community. So this is a problem that has happened way before they were there. So that's some of the things that are happening.
Cool.
With
and
the
so Riggs, Fred's really focused on community, and you're really focused on the business structure of how can we go into these communities and help them to solve their problems with water.
Well, Chip, to set the stage, the water model in America and the rest of the world is very centralized, very patriarchal. We'll take care of your water, you people just consume. And that's a very inefficient model. It's also breaking down because infrastructure is falling apart. We have $1 trillion problem with America's infrastructure. And what do we do about it? Well, Origin Clear is in the business of helping the stranded business users cope with that problem because they have to treat their own water. We're not in the business of consumer water at this time, but we're in LA, and in June I was introduced forcibly to this problem. I was invited down to the IHOP in Compton, introduced to this problem, and I said, this is ridiculous. Enough is enough. We have to do something about this. And from that point on, we really focused on let's do the same thing with people's homes that we're doing with industry, which is self-help on premises. At the same time, the cities are trying to solve their problem. Buy them time, essentially. It's not an oppositional strategy. We're here to help. So soon after that, I was put in contact with Ced, and he told us, well, he's got an amazing viewpoint on it, but there's been this amazing upsurge of excitement about it. This is a solvable problem. We're not talking about putting in triple filter reverse osmosis in every home. We're talking about bringing them up to regulation. You get the water you pay for. And at the very least, you should get what you pay for. Now, they wouldn't be saying, you know, the water's fine despite being brown in Beverly Hills, I'm sorry. But in Compton, they do. They literally say that it's disgusting but safe. So we're fortunate that the city has made progress. It's down to 3,000 homes. We're going to fix that, but we also want to package it so that in other cities throughout the country. And Captain Watson really inspired me when he said, you can kill an organization but not a movement. So we want to not just do this ourselves as a nonprofit, but also package it so others can do it as a kid.
Fantastic. Well, you know, Cedric, I mean, you're a former NBA All-Star basketball player, and I know that, you know, in America, we look up to our sports teams. I mean,
Right.
you know, you really, you know, you all have an ability to access mass consciousness in the United States, you know, hundreds of millions of people. Can you talk a little bit about, you know, what your interest is in joining with Fred and working on this issue in Compton with Riggs? And
Well, a couple of years ago, it started off in Flint, and obviously everybody knew about that. And obviously I was aware of it, and a good friend of mine, former guy who played in the NBA, Derek Coleman, get a real big push by bringing in water in and stuff. So that's where I got aware of what's going on. Me and Fred used to be teammates on the same team in Compton and Dominguez High School, so that's how we have a relationship.
you guys are from
together.
Compton. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
okay, yeah. Got
So-
it. Roots.
so-
We got roots here.
So most of the time when situations happen, and I was at fault, I saw Derek doing his due diligence and everything, but I didn't really get involved. But when it hits home, then that's when my antennas rose up and said, okay, now you're messing with my people. Let's go ahead and see what I can do and how I can just process going. And it's so funny how we got reconnected again. We've always kept in touch, but I just happened to be flipping through social media and saw these wonderful young ladies performing and doing their thing, and I just made a comment on it, and he calls me on my cell phone like, "Oh, you commenting about my ladies, huh?" Like, what? This is you, and it's a whole process. And then when Riggs came to us and got involved, the connection was there, and I told him, I said, I got passes from this guy. This is one of the best point guards in high school at my time. So this is an opportunity for not only to cure the problem, but more get awareness. And yeah, rich guy can come in and write a check for whatever, but that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to get the awareness out. We want the 10s and 20s, the $20 bills. We don't want the opportunity to one person take it and they never forget about it, because yeah, obviously if you guys watch the NBA, we are a cookie cutter league. You know, LeBron went to Miami, the big three, I need a big three to win a championship. Steph Curry and Golden State, they start shooting all these threes. I need to shoot threes to win the championship. We're a copy cutter league, and that's what we want to do here. We want to set the mode, see that it works, be a champion at it in Compton, and then we take it to Flint and Newark and everywhere else. And there's a lot of other cities and states that have this problem. They're just not aware of it. So if you guys can really relate to it as you go to a fine restaurant and you order, you know, bottled water, whether you have gas or not, and it comes out brown. And you're like, oh, no, it's fine. You go ahead and drink it. And that's what they're dealing with right now, and it's wrong.
Now, that doesn't work. I mean, you know, we talk about implementation, acceleration, replication of solution, and then step and repeat. So I think that what we're talking up here is a model that we want to implement in Compton, and then we want to get it right, dial it in, and then we want to take it to other communities that are having similar issues, and then let it expand from there. Is that right, Riggs?
Chip, exactly right. Newark tried to solve the problem. They purchased, I think, 35,000 pure water filters. Unfortunately, it did not work. So one of the key things you've got to do is not screw up. So two components. The first one is that the citizens and the households now are in charge of this. It's no longer being victims of the central authorities, whoever they might be. We're going to empower people to do something about it. And secondly, we're going to do good engineering. And by the way, Origin Clear is not going to use its own technology because we're industrial. We're going to put some mass market vendors to the test and really drive a process where we're super tough to make sure that this thing is done right. Full site surveys, you know, testing spots, the whole gamut. We have to do this perfectly to a certain given standard so that we set the model and the template. So from the fundraising to the engineering to the managing the vendor process And by the way, they will not mind doing a really competitive contract with 5,000 or 3,000 homes, because they'll get a chance to upsell those homes to a better system, and everybody wins. So, and then from there on out, we take the accumulated funds and we start doing it with other cities, and we really want to keep the momentum going. You'll be hearing more about that as we build the fundraising process.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Now, Fred, when we talk about culture and community and how we can popularize our own survival, I always thought it would be great to have, a kid, going through the streets of New York City with a T-shirt, that has a big wind turbine on it, and the brown fields are now excited about the green fields, even though this kid may have never even been out to the country, And so, how do you think that we can use the celebrity of the Compton kids as I know that your trajectory is just going straight up. We're going to see these guys at the Super Bowl, folks, and it's going to be pretty soon, okay? So, unbelievable. If you haven't seen the Compton kids, Google it and take a look, because there's some amazing video out there. But maybe you can respond to how we can popularize our own survival and culture.
Well, basically, when you deal with any environmental, you see any environmental documentaries or anything like that, you always, we're the ones affected, we're the ones who have the bad water, we're the ones who have the bad air, the bad food, right? Well, Compton kids, we're sitting at the table with the solutions, right? We're going to be the victors. We're not sitting back. We're taking charge and saying, what can we do to take the bull by the horns and help solve the problems that are affecting us, right? So you always see, other races solving our problems. So we're using music, which is, performing arts and everything, to bring attention and awareness to this. So, for example, we're championing not only environmental causes, social justice causes, right? And using that, a celebrity to bring the attention. And so, like we did at Earth's Call, right? A lot of you guys were maybe at Earth's Call, right? So we're not trying to make superstars. We're saying you're going to do music with a social responsibility, right? So that's how we're going to, bring that, because you have to have a movement, right? And young people can galvanize young people, So there are like young people all over the country trying to get in Compton Kids Club, and sometimes they think it's about the performance, but it's really about bringing awareness to these issues right here. So that's how we.
Even as an infant, excuse me, Skip. Even as an infant, we start to learn through music. I mean, even the alphabet, A, B, C, we start to learn through songs. So what these kids are doing and putting awareness into music and dance and theatrics, it's helping that word get out a little bit faster, because obviously I just turned 50 a couple weeks ago. I'm so behind. My kids are so advanced on their phones. It's just ridiculous. So obviously our generation is missing out on so much. But the younger generation really knows how to control and consolidate and push that word out through social media.
And let me say this too. A lot of organizations will call on us to, do this event, do this event, do this event. And I stopped. I said, I don't want to do events. You know what I mean? And so we actually created what we call the We Care Tour, to put everything we care about under the same umbrella. And so we're going around to schools. We're going to be going around to schools, the We Care Tour, all across the country. In 2 weeks, we're taking an eco package, and we're going to have stainless steel straws, forks, and spoons, and give it to the entire school. And at that point, that school has no more need for single-use plastic. There are 76 million kids enrolled in K through 12 in America alone. You add the staff, you're probably up to 80, 90 million people every day using plastic spoon, forks, and straws. So Compton kids are going to go around, and we're going to be getting local businesses to adopt a school. So this is how we're using our platform, along with bringing attention to the water in the city that they live in, and that inspires other youth to get involved.
That's beautiful, and I just got to say that I'm just thinking as you're listening, as as you're talking, and, you know, I carry that kit around in my bag, but I got to remember to use it. It's like going to the supermarket, you know. It's like, oh, man, I forgot my bags again, and now I'm walking out with my paper bag again. So let's also think ahead and follow through and, like, okay, now let's teach the kids. Now, we've given you this. Now you have to remember to bring it to school, and you got to use it. But it's a really powerful way of implementing systematic change throughout an institutionalized system that has sort of taught us to expect that everything is just given to us and it's all disposable, right, in our plastic society. I mean, New York City has just, well, 6 months ago, I think they put a law saying no more plastic, but I go there, and there's more plastic than you can even imagine anywhere in any city. That's just out the door, out the door, out the door. It's filling up those bags. So in order to get the change, as we said earlier, I think we have to change our mind. And through culture and music and sports, you know, wow. Okay, so now we're on to something. Okay, well, Riggs, we've been talking about how to create a platform in Compton that can be replicated, and let's talk a little bit about the foundation of the problem. We've heard these gentlemen tell us about what's happening in water in the world and in our country. In Flint, Michigan, they have we all know that they have a massive problem. And even with the Michael Moore movie and all the rest of it and the nightly news, I understand that they haven't really fixed that problem.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I think there's the water industry is very conservative for good reason, public health, et cetera. But it's too much of a good thing. They tend to think centralized. We've got a problem, let's fix it centralized. Meanwhile, those of you who know triage know that you got to staunch the blood. You got to do the tourniquet. You got to stop the bleeding. And that is not part of the model in water. Why is Flint, despite about $100 million in investment, still a problem? Because they haven't capped the well. It's like, just boom, be done with this. Then you can buy the time. That is not part of the thinking anywhere in the water industry. Now, the good news is that there are some forward-thinking people in water, and we'll be working closely with Mayor Garcetti, we hope, Department of Public Works. We want to work with Gavin Newsom, because we want this to become part of public policy. We want this to become, okay, when there is a problem in a city, we're going to fix the upstream, but we're also going to plug the problems so that the people are taken care of instantly. We're going to set that stage with a public-private initiative. And we're very grateful to AREI for being willing to be the platform, so we don't have to go through all the 501c3 stuff. We can activate instantly, and we're putting that package together. Compton is an easy problem because it's only 3,000. And I'm grateful for that because we can get it done quickly, in a crisp way, but focus on the template. And then we want to create these kits so that the thing can roll out. We don't want to be the only ones doing this. We would like to do more cities, but we can't get to them all. We think there's going to be an explosion of cities saying, help us. So we want people to say, okay, you're in your city, go do it. And there's going to be local installers putting these things in. And this thing's going to be done right. And I think we'll have a paradigm shift.
Oh, that's great. And well, you just let the cat out of the bag. I was going to save that for the end, but we are working on a arrangement here where AREI will be supporting this program. And we were going to call it Enough is Enough, but I guess we couldn't get the URL on that, so we changed it.
We have enoughisenough.cc,
Yeah.
right? So we're good with that. You know, we're good with that catchphrase. We went with about 200 others, and they didn't sound right, because really enough is enough. We are done with this, and we're backstopping it. The good news is Fred is in close touch with the city council. So this is being done hand in hand. We are not interested in being oppositional activists. We're collaborative activists. We want to make this thing happen together.
Well, I just want to say on behalf of my board of trustees and myself and Sally that we're delighted to work with Enough is Enough, Compton Water, whatever we're going to call this project, in order to implement a very functional platform, foundation, get it right, and then replicate it and strategically in other points around the country where it's needed so much. And we might want to go right to Flint. And actually, I'd suggest, Fred, that we could also partner with you and the We Care Tour in terms of promoting, you know, getting rid of single-use plastic in all the ways that we can think of to do that. Now, Cedric, you know, are you going to be able to talk to some of your other colleagues, you know, former NBA stars and guys and stuff to sort of get on the bandwagon and help with this initiative, you think?
Yeah, we've contacted a couple of. We started out with Compton, obviously, because the Williams sisters, Kendrick Lamar. We have tons and tons of celebrities that that we're trying to contact. Anthony Anderson, actors and celebrities. But I think the most important thing is the activists within, especially the NBA. I mean, Golden State is producing a arena. It's all completed in San Francisco. That's just so energy and water efficient. It's just bananas. And the Clippers owner, Steve, is getting involved with his new building. My owner, Dallas Mavericks, Mark Cuban, is planning to build his arena. So this is where we start. And like you said before, the impact of sports can be that, because obviously tons and thousands of people fill these places up, and this is a change that could be made, and also be awareness, because people love sports. Wow. And are also aware. And then most of the time, when you come to sports, you want that home run, that touchdown, that slam dunk. And let me hit a little bit about Flint. $100 million have been allocated for this, and still not have been solved. 3 years. It's really nothing to our lives, but you got to remember a newborn. His first 3 years of his life has been contained by brown water, contaminated water, and which is very, very wrong. And then that's a problem that we want to try to solve hands-on, like Rick said, stop the bleeding. I mean, enough is enough. I mean, how long do these kids have to go on? Right. And you can think of yourself as a parent trying to bathe that infant, trying to feed that infant without clean water. Your daughter or son is crying in the middle of the night and needs their bottle, and you're out of bottled water, and it's midnight. Do you try to run miles away, especially Flint? Flint's gonna get cold in the wintertime. Try to run out miles away to try to get water. This is a right that we should all have, and I hope you guys get behind this, because enough is enough.
And one of the things that
I want to now mention some of it should probably be up here, but it isn't, but sitting right there. So Beverly has been key to helping us put all this together. And I wonder, Beverly, if you have a video clip, or Fred maybe, I'd like to end this, and we got some time left, and I'd like to go to Q&A a little bit, but maybe we could queue up to show a short Compton Kids song before, as the end, because I think that would be a great way to sort of end this panel. But in the meantime, could we get some mics running around? And I'd like to engage the audience in this dynamic conversation, because while we're working on the technology side here with Riggs, and he's vetting out how are we going to clean this water in these 3,000 homes, okay? And show that, and we'll probably make a little documentary showing how that all happened and everything. But and meanwhile, Cedric, it's so fantastic that you have willing to join this initiative in Compton to show that we can do this right. This is not brain science. I mean, this is just clean water we're talking about. We know about filtration systems, right? I mean, it's hard to think about this, but I went to a water conference at GE, and they're talking about, toilet to tap. And I'm like, oh, what are you talking about? But I mean, it turns out that water is so short that we have to do that, and we know how to do that. And they are doing that in cities like San Francisco. Right. People, they don't talk about it. People don't want to know about it, but that water's cleaner than, the original water that you got. And so if we can do that, we can certainly do this, right?
So true. And in fact, I don't want to get away from questions, but the decentralization of water means you can also reuse and recycle your own water. That's what's happening with industry, and I hope that will be able to happen at the household level eventually. But today, let's set the stage for clean water.
Okay, so we have any questions out there while we're queuing up that video? This gentleman here.
Hi, my name's John, and I'm wondering...
Microphone, please.
Hi, this is John Bellamini with Center for the Greater Good, and I'm curious, what do you need today to be successful? How can we best support you?
Thank you, John. Well, it's going to be done in stages. The first stage is really the due diligence. We're going to have to put a basic engineering and directorial capability in place, start doing the site surveys, understand the depth of the problem. Is it 3,000 homes? Really get it nailed down, and then meanwhile work with vendors on various solutions. The problem, as Chip says, is not rocket science. The solutions are well known. So the first stage of this, 3-4 months, is really just going to be, hard work to prepare things. That amount of funding is relatively small. Now, there will be larger funding needed, but I don't think these units are going to be extremely expensive. They will be put right at the head end where the mains enter the home, so the entire home is proper, right? But it's still not a heck of a lot of money because we're not trying to achieve vast levels of purity, just the tap water regulation, which is not great, but it's a minimum we got to deliver.
Yeah, so how do we, implement it right and get and smooth out all of the bumps, and whatever time frame that is? Because I'm interested in rapid implementation. I mean, this is a crisis that's growing by the day. We saw some of the frightening statistics from AREI before. What do you think? What kind of timeline have we been talking about so far?
Well, the good news is that there are people doing good work already. Jaden Smith with Just Water is doing wonderful work in Flint, putting water in the churches using a proprietary device. And we can use that knowledge already. Let's not try and start at zero. I'm just saying that we are not going to do, ready, shoot, aim. It's not our plan. Newark had that problem, and now they're trying to recover from it. So we're going to do this fast, but we're going to do it in, with all deliberate speed.
Here at AREDAY, we really like to think forward, and I like to say that the most important day at AREDAY is the day we all go home and take the strategic partnerships and the collaborations and the learnings, and how do we pay it forward to the next important event that we go to, so that we can actually really implement the learnings and then help the next people integrate that. And in fact, I even talk about a climate constellation where there's nodes of solution all around the planet that we're activating and we're connecting in a global grid that puts us all in touch with, the basics of just, we got to solve the problem of burning the carbon in the atmosphere that's creating all of this water crisis to begin with. Go to the source of that. And of course, that means a just transition from a world that's based on fossil fuels to a world that's based on renewables and hydrogen and all of the various clean energies that we need. And so that's a big picture, and it seems impossible, but I know that it's doable, especially when good people put their like minds together. So is there any more questions out in the audience? We have one in the back there.
Does the system work for small and large apartment buildings as well? So it's one size fits many?
Yeah, it will have to scale. The system obviously will be built. These are comparatively simple things. The problem in Compton really is a problem with the wells. And rural users know that manganese and iron contamination of wells is a very normal problem. And it's really a matter of scaling up the solution. There will be different sizes. The good thing about apartment buildings, you get a tremendous leverage effect. Right there at the head end, you take care of the entire complex. So it's actually extremely efficient. And there's a lot of multi-user dwellings in Compton, so that's actually going to work really well. So I think we can scale it.
Yeah. So I know I threw a curveball at everybody trying to get this video to happen. I don't know if we can. The video is almost ready. Oh, great. Okay, so I'm sorry Fred's over there having to deal with that, but maybe you can speak on his behalf. So let me ask you guys. So when you were in high school and he was the best point guard, and you were playing power forward or what have you, how did that scale up? I mean, I'm interested in how you looked at professional sports, connecting that to inspiring the youth in order to do the right thing.
Well, at now, I see the awareness of it, first of all, of being in team sports, because there's not a job on this planet that we work by ourselves. So if you get involved at a young age with teammates and communication and helping each other, it's just going to help you in the long run. Secondly, it puts you, especially because of the glamorization of sports now, it puts it in a situation where you can turn that young child's head to try to pay attention to that athlete. Sometimes our teachers, our doctors, our lawyers in situations there, they come across a little boring, so it's just kind of hard to keep that kid's attention. So when it comes to celebrities, when it comes to somebody as an icon, it kind of helps them out to try to keep their focus on whatever that project is.
Great, and if we can take that philosophy and then integrate it into the city of Compton and apply it to fixing a simple problem like water that we all have a right to, then imagine what other areas that we could take that and apply it to as well. it's pretty astounding.
Well, I loved, Thomas Steyer yesterday was talking about the Climate Corps, and it's about getting the youth involved. We want this, we want the installers to be local. We want to try and get this as a team thing. This is still in the very early stages. Literally, this conference has inspired me in so many ways on a structural way. So we're going to try and make this as much about the people for the people and not have just a bunch of people coming in and telling them, this is how we're going to do it. That's not right.
Great, great. And we're going to have some closing remarks here in our last 7 seconds. I want to start with Fred because he's been missing out on the. Thank you for dealing with the technicals, Fred. So we just want to close out before we show this wonderful clip that we're able to do, and get your thoughts on community culture and how we can move forward with connecting to professional sports, and then the goodwill of folks that are in the business community to implement all this together.
Well, first of all, thank you guys for having us. And I just think that a lot of what I see is when I see a lot of different ideas and proposals, we have the beginning clear, we have the end clear, and what we represent is the middle. We're going to go and we're going to actually activate, do the work, make the things that we talk about actually happen, be sustainable, and be replicable. So this is what this team, I think, represents.
Awesome. Well, Fred, I know that you got I know that you have a tight schedule. Thanks for staying around to your plane's leaving soon. He's going to get a big award, a degree at a college. An honorary degree today and he said to stay here for this. So let's take a look at the Compton kids, and thank you all so much for coming and having this panel. Thank you, Riggs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So basically, when you think about how we're actually going to succeed and actually kick their ass, it's going to be based on justice, environmental justice, economic justice, and coalition.
That's right. Yeah. Hey, man.
So I gave him the wrong track. It was music there.
American people are supposed to have their own voice. And what we're doing is providing a venue for Americans to add their voices together to change the conversation, the dysfunctional conversation in Washington, D.C. I'm willing to do whatever I can to protect our country.
All right, well, I was glad to see that they're supporting Tom. He was here last night. Maybe we can roll a clip of the kids singing at Earth's Call later on today, and we'll take a little time to find that. I was hoping you could be here for that, Fred. I'm sorry you have to run out, but thank you, Sid. Thank you, Fred, and thank you, Riggs. We look forward to working with you all.
Thank you.
Chip.
Thank you.